to give you an introduction unless you do it.
I will. Thanks, appreciate it. I was told not to talk about myself. I was a little hesitant or afraid to come here because I've been watching all the great work Paul Koch has been done and been representing me here. I figured I would just be a disappointment showing up here in person. And Patty came up to me today and she goes, I looked at your background, you're an amazing person. I go, well, I guess I have to figure out a way to amaze you tonight. So my secret little trick is I just introduced my amazing wife, Amy.
Oh, there you go.
And I would tell you, this has been a joint venture from day one. We got a call very late to get into this race. 2 months too late, but we decided we would give it some serious thought, but we'd have to decide within 24 hours or so. Within 24 hours, we said we have to do it. As hard as it was to be running for office statewide from a cold start, I thought it was harder to sit at home, watch what was going on TV in this country and this Commonwealth than it was to get in this race and fight. Yep. And so here I am today. Before I leave tonight, there's one thing I want, and I want to get the recipe for that barbecue pork roll. And I'm very serious about this. I grew up in Virginia, and I grew up in public, and I was educated in public schools at a time when they weren't teaching all this crap that they're teaching in other parts of the state. But one thing I do remember was the barbecue pork, and I've tested the internet, I've tested AI, I can't find the recipe. So whoever did that, gives me the recipe before I leave. So I grew up in a poor family. My parents both came from very desperate cultures, the Netherlands and Hawaii, and I grew up in the military. They ended up settling down in Southeast Virginia, and after graduating from high school, no one in my family ever gone to college, and I knew I had to kind of set a standard for my younger brothers and others who never had the opportunity. So I worked hard and I got into West Point, and I ended up graduating first in my class out of 1,400 cadets at West Point. And that got me off to a great That got me off to a great military career. I mean, I tell people I have a spotty career track, which is true, but I kept getting promoted all the way up to the 2-star general. I led 4 combat tours. One of the greatest honors in my life was to lead people in combat. And I see Cameron Hamilton in the back. You guys should be very proud of that native son where he's have you been confirmed yet, sir?
Not yet.
Okay. So, having worked in the Senate as a 3-star equivalent civilian back in the 90s, and on the way to being your future senator, I want to say you can never presume confirmation, so we all wish you the very best. So, Ben asked me to talk a little bit about my opponent, Mark Warner, and I will be honest, when I got in this race, I'm here to beat Democrats, okay? It wasn't so much Warner. I mean, it could have been Kane, could have been Spanberger. I'm just here to start making our country right. My 3 slogans are, I basically want to make Virginia safe again, I want to make common sense great again, and I want to stop stupid shit from happening. My wife says, don't say that last one, but it always gets the So I was sitting at my house on a Sunday morning, minding my own business, and I was part of the Trump inner circle. I wrote his foreign policy doctrine. He and I had a number of discussions where we had some disagreements, and he ended up agreeing with me, and at the point in time where I thought he was right, he came back to me and says, I think you were right, but I also headed his national security transition. And I was in the middle of this Russia collusion, quote-unquote, hoax. And so the FBI showed up at my door one morning on Sunday, unannounced. And I thought it was Jehovah's Witnesses. And when they knocked at my door and flashed their badges, I said, I'm sorry, but I'm going to give the same answer I would have given Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm too busy right now. I don't want to meet. And their jaws dropped. And I said, listen, I know why you're here. I was identified as a missing link between the Trump campaign and the people that were accused of collusion. And I said, I'm happy to sit down with you and tell you everything you'll need to know to put an end to this BS. And instead of setting up a time that was mutually agreeable, I ended up getting a subpoena for 19 months of my personal emails. And they were private. And that's when I saw how important lawfare is. So even though people know me as a retired 2-star general with a lot of combat experience, I'm also an attorney, and lawfare has become so important now. I think that's one thing that distinguishes me from the other Senate candidates. Besides my time in the Senate, actually I think I'm the only person in recorded U.S. history and I haven't really said this much, but I do want to get fact-checked by the opposition, who's held flag rank, which is basically the rank of an equivalent of a general officer in uniform, but also in the legislative branch when I worked in the Senate, and the executive branch, both in the Pentagon and VA, but also in the intelligence community when I was a senior intelligence service there. So I'm the only one in history that's ever done that. Hope I can fact check. I'm going to take Mark Warner on because when Adam Schiff was lying about what happened with the Russia collusion, Mark Warner was his counterpart in the Senate. He had the same information Schiff had, and he knew what he was saying. It was total BS, and he never said a word, and he failed to exercise leadership. So as your senator, I'll be the senior ranking military officer in the Senate, the most highly decorated combat veteran in the Senate, and I will work hard, and before then, I want to come here and make sure we get a Republican elected to be your congressman in the 7th Congressional District. Thank you so much.